Hi,
Hi, Sophie. How you doing?
how are you? Wait, am I being too luxurious outside? Should I go in?
No, I like you outside, actually.
Oh, goody. Well, if it gets noisier, you can't see my
N-
eyes or something because these are tinted glasses. I'll go
No,
in.
I'm like big on authenticity. Like if Sophie B. Hawkins is like feeling like being outside, I'd rather talk to you when you're outside.
Oh, well, okay, good. This is where I write, actually. Can I show you?
Yeah, I'd love it. Yeah.
Do you see this stone wall over there?
Yes, I do.
Oh, that was made, by the way, in the well, way before the 1600s by the Indians because I'm in a place in Connecticut where the Aspetuck Indians were very happy here before we came, and they built the most incredible stone walls, and then the farmers imitated them and built these crappy ones that you see, and you can tell the difference. If I could go closer, I would have to walk there with you. The Indian ones are really gorgeous sculptures, and it's so easy to tell.
You know, when you see Shawshank Redemption, remember at the end, I feel like Tim Robbins' character like hid something for Red, like under
Yeah.
a wall like that.
Yes, isn't that cool?
It is very cool. So you're in Connecticut, and this is where you call
Yes.
home?
It is now since COVID. I'm a single mother with two kids, and they couldn't deal with the computer learning. So I literally Googled from Manhattan, where are schools open on the Northeast?
Wow.
And this town came up, and I said, I'm driving there just to check it out. And they were open for COVID. The kids had to wear masks, but um, we ended up loving it. It's very close to Manhattan, but not too close. It's still country. It's great.
You know, when I was going down this remote learning, I had a couple of pretty young kids at the time in school, and I was screaming. Nobody listened to me, which is pretty typical. But I was like, why can't we do classes outdoors?
Yeah,
Like,
brilliant.
yeah, like if ventilation's the problem, obviously it was airborne, and ventilate. We know what ventilation outside really difficult to transmit it. Let's let's all bundle up, layer up. You know, I know I'm in Toronto, but you know, Connecticut, Toronto, like these are similar weathers. Why don't we just do our classes outdoors and keep the kids together learning in person and
Brilliant.
still, you know, I don't know why no one listens to me.
But you know what? It's such a great idea. And if this ever happens again, let's actually get in touch and do it because there's schools that are only outdoors. Of course, I only know them to be in California, but the kids apparently perform better if not as well in math and so forth, learning outdoors.
You know, I only speak Celsius, so I'll have to speak to my listenership in Celsius. But you could have a rule like if it gets below -10, for example, then maybe on days below -10, we'll do this remotely. I don't know, prevent frostbite or something. But most of the days in Toronto here are mild enough we could do it. So, but I have a question for you, Sophie. Can there be a next time? Like, I feel like the reaction to this pandemic, we're still kind of crawling out of here, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do that again. Like, can there be another pandemic where you basically tell the citizens, okay, stay home, stay 6 feet apart, don't do this? I feel like no one will listen next time.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think people are already starting to doubt COVID happened. That's the way it is. Especially with, our president here. It's just like if it didn't have, whatever they say it is, and people just go along with it because if it makes it more practical, faster to get through it, easier, that's what people do.
So I have some ground I want to cover with you, and I know you're doing what I call like a hardcore logo style Western Canadian tour. But can I ask you
Oh,
what are your thoughts on your president? I'm naturally curious.
my thoughts are my it's more about the people who believe that this is what we need. There's always people like him around, always. You can find them anywhere in any country. But why is he our president? And it was such a slow but obvious build. And it's the same thing with every disaster, like Nazi Germany. It's such an obvious and slow build. And it's like what I just said about COVID, which was a little bit, my friends would say I'm outrageous to say that people are already forgetting it. But in a way, people get so numb to things, and it's that boiling frog thing. So it's not so much about the president, who there are a dime a dozen guys or girls like that who will take control and do whatever they want if they can. But it's about the people who accept it and want it and think that we need it. And I have experienced this, if I make it very personal, every mistake I've made in my life has been that I haven't stopped, taken a few deep breaths and said, what we really need to do is figure out what the problem is and talk. Even if it's personal relationships, if it's business problems, if it's everything, humans react so fast and they want someone else to solve their problems.
Do
And
you,
often, what, go
sorry.
on.
No, I was going to ask you if you still identify as conservative.
Me?
Yeah.
Ever identified as conservative? Tell me.
No, I mean, I do my homework here. Have you ever identified as conservative?
Well, I've never voted for a conservative president. I voted for Kamala Harris with bells on and Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
Only time I went against a Democrat was when I was for Hillary Clinton. And she was also a Democrat. And I went against, I'm sorry, Obama. I voted not for Obama, but for Hillary in the Democratic convention. But then, of course, I voted for Obama when he was I don't know what's the name, incumbent. I don't know. I'm not very political, but I've never been conservative. I went to one thing as a omnisexual liberal. I went and performed at a right-wing thing in Washington because my partner, Gigi, a woman, thought, and she was never conservative either, thought it would be a great idea. And her heart was in the right place. And I just listened to bridge the gap to say, well, because they invited me there, by the way, and maybe I was a stooge, if that's the right word. Maybe they invited me to make fun of me, but they invited me to sing at a convention, a gay convention, who were conservatives. And Gigi thought and convinced me that this would be a great idea to help bring the country together. And I had the song Damn written. The land of the free is purple, not red and blue.
Right.
So I guess you could call me purple. I wanted to mix the people. It's basically what I just said. Just
Right.
take a breath and talk about it. But I didn't realize I better not foray into the political world because that's not how it was perceived.
See, this is where I think that bad intel comes from. I think is that performance because if you start to dig online, learn more about Sophie B. Hawkins, it
Yes.
does suggest that even though you are a member of the LGBTQ plus community and very
Environmentalist.
progressive,
I'm a very, very active environmentalist.
right? But that's why I was trying to kind of understand how one could identify as conservative when from my view up here again we'll
Oh,
talk about.
you said. I know what you found. Did you find a quote where I said conservative in the head, liberal in bed?
Yes,
Oh,
that's
great.
it.
Okay, well, let's talk about that.
Yes,
I,
please.
that was me being I don't know what I was actually thinking when I said that, but it isn't true. I I might have been thinking of some kind of fiscal policy at the moment, but it's not true. And by the way, I was deeply influenced then as my partner, Gigi, and I'm not trying to throw her under the bus, but she's brilliant in many ways. And she had a lot of friends who were gay, and Richard Grinnell is one of them. And seemed, and he's an environmentalist, and he was helping me understand some fiscal policies from his point of view. So I could have been influenced, and I'm just going to be honest about that. Whatever but I never would have ever, never will vote for a Republican president unless, again, I think Lincoln was Republican. That's what I mean. I don't want to get into politics. I want to say, and nobody will listen to me say this, I am not conservative in the head, liberal in bed. I have no such things like that. Um, I just was doing some stupid things that I thought were smart.
It's interesting how a quote like that can follow you, and you'll be talking to some guy in Toronto from your backyard there in Connecticut, and then he'll have that quote and think possibly you were identifying as conservative.
Yeah, no, but not yeah, no. Yes, I understand. And I didn't, it's good that we're talking about it. And I didn't know the impact of it then. And that's again going back to interpersonal relationships, actually, because me and her should have broken up after 2 years. So that's my fault too.
And speaking of Gigi though, that she did you did star as Janis Joplin, right? She did Room 105.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was the worst period of my life, I have to say. But yes, she wrote that, and I was happy to learn to get Janice under my belt, but um it wasn't that great a thing.
Okay, because even hearing you talk right now in my headphones, I'm getting that raspy voice. It's a bit of a Janis vibe.
Yes, well, it's true. I do have that. And when I was a drummer, in my 20s, I did love playing with Big Brother and the holding company. And I never for a minute thought that I'd ever be a singer or a songwriter and be playing Janis Joplin. So, I mean, it was a really full circle moment. Musically, it was great. And someday, I am writing a memoir, which may never come out, but I do love the stories about how I learned to play Janis because I'm an alto and she's a coloratura soprano. And how I pulled that off and got great reviews is kind of amazing. And which is why, again, I should stick to music and stay away from all these other things.
So the Canadian perspective, because I am curious about your Western Canadian. So I'm talking to you from Toronto, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Western Canadian tour, and then I have some, Sophie B. Hawkins questions I've had stored up for the last couple of decades. But I always find it interesting when I think of Americans and I think, okay, so like, I don't know, 45% of your country seems to identify as conservative, but not all conservatives are MAGA. And it's one of these trying to differentiate between a conservative in America and MAGA is quite the challenge in 2025.
Yes, and I don't pay attention to mega, except I see them on the road once in a while with big flags and big trucks. But here in very liberal Connecticut, I'm not exposed, and I would have to study and spend time to understand. Like, I understand how you see this capsule of this country, but living here,
Mm-hmm.
w- again, I'm right next to Manhattan. I grew up with a lawyer and a writer as parents, and you know, I can't say how liberal I am, but it's liberal through and through. And I live in a very liberal state and I'm not exposed to manga personally. And I will say that I think what's sad about this country is the groups. Like, why can't we talk about the issues and solve the issues, which are global issues, and stop getting this popularity contest? I've never understood this about politics, by the way. It is about humans and the issues. And so I have to just bow out and vote for the best person and still be an activist. And I don't mean to bring it back to me, but I don't have any insight for you. I'm as stumped as you are.
Well, you're about to, hop on a plane and you're going to end up in, we'll talk about this, but like Saskatchewan and Alberta and British Columbia and Manitoba. And, this country that I love and I'm born and raised in, a sovereign nation, I'll remind you, your president continually talks about us as we should become a 51st state. He's going to devastate us economically until we're so impoverished that we come crawling, begging to join the United States of America. This is a very unpopular sentiment in
Sure.
Canada.
And here I am going to Canada to tour because, I need to keep my career going. So obviously, I disagree with him. I need Canada and I love Canada. And Canada was my first gold record, although that's not a big deal anymore. It was a long time ago. But Canada has always been, Canada was the first person to love my feet in Much Music, the video. The guy said, I don't remember his name. He was so handsome. He said, I love your feet. And then I forever loved Canada also, because that's actually my favorite part of me too.
Could it have been Steve Anthony? I'm trying to think.
Probably.
No. I would love to
Probably.
know.
I
Okay.
wonder if we can look it up. But so I love Canada and I love the lyric in the song Chantal Roan. She says, fuck this, I'm moving to Saskatchewan. I heard that song and I had just come back from Saskatchewan. And I said, oh my God, what a great lyric. I wish I had wrote it. I love her. Chappelle. I can't believe I said Chantal.
Yeah,
How
I know. Yeah, because at first I thought, are you talking about Chantal Kreviazuk? But
I
no, of course,
absolutely
Chapel
love
Roan. Chapel Roan.
Chapel Roan. That's the greatest, one of the greatest lyrics in music as far as I'm concerned. Do you love that? Fuck this, I'm moving to Saskatchewan. Fuck
My
the
my
city.
first wife was from Saskatchewan, so I want to shout out the good people in
Yes,
Saskatoon.
I want to shout out too because I did the jazz festival or whatever festival in Saskatchewan recently, like this August. And so she has that, or July, end of July. She has that great lyric, "Fuck this city, I'm moving to Saskatchewan," which I had literally just come back from Saskatchewan and had a great time. And
Mhm.
I met Chappelle Roan, but I did meet Chantal, and I can't pronounce her name, but she's now become a friend, Kreveziak.
Kreviazuk. It's
Kreviazak.
very Ukrainian.
Yes, well, she has become a friend, and we played that festival together, I will note, and we are looking for a chance to double bill.
I
She's
love her. Okay, so she was over here within the last 12 months. It's all a blur to me now. But after the recording, because sadly, not sadly, but you're in Connecticut, so we won't be taking a photo by Toronto Tree. But I'm taking a photo with Chantel after her great visit here, and then she witnesses a road rage incident where a guy is just ripping into a young woman postal employee, and she's fearing. And we, of course, I was going to go and make sure everything was okay, but Chantel ran
I love.
and yelled at this guy and supported this woman and gave her like a number if you need this for court or whatever. And I just like she was like Batman.
She is like Batman, and her performances, yeah, I can't do anything but underline and agree. I loved her performance. I love her band, by the way.
Yeah.
Two phenomenal musicians, females on stage. And I love her when she does her solo thing and then she brings her band on. I'm dying to perform with her. I'm dying to double bill. And by the way, that's another reason I'm doing this tour, which is we're not getting to Toronto. I don't know if you
No,
know the schedule, which
I
is
got it.
really fortunate and sad, but apparently I have to suck it up and build up again. But I am going to the great, is it called provinces? Just
Yeah,
forgive
they're provinces. Yeah.
God. Okay, I'm going to the great provinces. Hopefully, what will happen next time is I will be double billing with Chantal and doing the major cities as well
Yeah,
as a
she's a Winnipeg girl, so she's from. It's funny. I'm married now to an Edmonton woman, so it's these Western Canadian women, right? They're just irresistible.
Are they? That's amazing.
Now, 'cause I mean, I won't drop all the dates. I will tell people that sophiebhawkins.com, you can see dates, get tickets, get the specifics. But I saw like October 16th, you're in North Battleford, Saskatchewan. There's a bunch of Alberta dates back to BC. You're stopping in like Fort Saskatchewan, Prince Albert, Red Deer. Like this tour is not for the faint of heart. This is a hardcore logo style Western Canadian tour.
Yes. And that's what you mean by logo style.
Well, there's a movie. I'll just quickly, if you get a chance, watch the movie Hardcore Logo,
Oh, okay.
and you'd love it. And it's a road movie about bands in Canada doing
Well,
that difficult tour.
well, that is what, and also I'm doing it with my friend Seth, and we're going to be doing all the driving, just us, those 10-hour drives. And I want to also tell everyone that I'm leaving my children, who I love more than music, more than art, more than anything. And I love being their mom, and I'm a full-time mom and full-time artist,
Yeah.
but it's equal. And I don't have any help taking care of them, and I don't want it. But I'm leaving them to do this tour. So if people buy a ticket, they should know that I am doing this at tremendous heartache to leave my kids, but also desire to rebuild my audience in Canada, which I really love. And please forgive me for that moment of playing for whoever I played for at that moment, which made me associated with the very bad people here.
Although I'll tell you now, this country is interesting that, I'm talking in Toronto, which is a very progressive liberal city in the biggest province. But as you move west, so the provinces that you're visiting, there is, I will say, there's a higher percentage of people where you're going that would be pretty okay with being the 51st state.
That's disgusting.
I know.
It's hard even to be, I don't know what state Connecticut is, but it's really difficult. And I actually have to say I did the only illegal thing I ever did. And I don't know if I can be arrested this many years after, but I have a very dear friend who had reason because of other issues. Again, this is an issue. We're in issues here. Somebody is, I don't want to go into it, but I actually stopped my friend physically at during COVID, where we had to put our ballots in certain places. We couldn't go to the polls. I physically stopped a friend, grabbed her arm, and moved it over to not vote for Trump. That's how I broke the law to do it. It's the only time I've ever broken the law. And that's how serious I am about this.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I won't comment on that because I hope the statute of limitations have expired on that one.
Yes. And she is one of my best friends, and she would stick up for me, and she agrees with me now. But it was an issue thing, and it was a very deep and dear issue. And it is difficult how they parse these issues up to turn people against each other, turn the country against each other.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's.
I have the wine, by the way. Nobody has drunk it, so you two have to come over. Okay, see you soon.
Who are you yelling at there? I want to know what's going on over there.
I'm on an interview with Toronto.
Toronto Mike says hello to this nice person.
Toronto Mike, she's my friend from South Africa.
Okay, nice. Okay, part of the Commonwealth.
Part of the Commonwealth. Okay, so I'll see you soon. I'm here all weekend if you want to stop by. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. I like the authenticity. Okay. But I better cook here. So again, listen. Sophie's leaving her kids. How old are your kids?
Dashel, my son, is 16, but he's also applying to colleges, and By the way, he loves the one. Wait, okay, so if you got this, it starts with an M, and I'll remember it by the end. I'm
Okay.
60, and these things. He's applying to a Canadian college.
Oh,
One of
McGill.
McGill. He's applying to
Yeah, my
McGill.
daughter goes there now.
Oh my God, he loved it. He went for a summer program in McGill.
Yeah.
So,
Great
yeah,
city.
it was one of the great. Yeah, he had said it was the greatest time of his life. So he's applying to McGill. He's only 16, but he will be 17 this year. He's a November baby like me. So he's going to be a senior. And Esther just turned 10, and she's in fifth grade.
Okay, I actually have no, I have a fourth and a sixth grader. I've got
Oh,
four of these guys running around, but yeah, so we have something common there. But okay, so again, just to recap this, go to sophiebhawkins.com if you're Western Canadian or if you have family in Western Canada or if you know somebody. Let's rebuild this Sophie B. Hawkins career. How vital is that B? Like if I just call you Sophie, are you okay with it, or do you want Sophie B?
Sophie or Sophie B or Sophie B. Hawkins or Hawkins. Some people call me Valentine. The B is for Valentine. And it is vital because the Valentines were, I feel, the greatest part of my heritage. They're the most colorful, the musicians from Scotland. I love it. And when I was in fourth grade at 9, I decided I wanted to be Sophie Valentine Hawkins, not just Sophie Hawkins. So it's pretty, I don't know, vital isn't the word, but it makes me feel good.
It matters to you.
Yes. Sophie Hawkins sounds bland.
Yeah.
Sophie B. Hawkins sounds voluptuous.
And I like that. And it's real. It's not like Michael J. Fox. He just invented the J because there was already a Michael Fox.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jay's not his middle name. Like it just sounded good.
Do you know you're really handsome? Do your listeners know that?
They do now. I want you to make sure you let them know right now how. And normally, see, I'm wearing the readers so I can read
Oh, wow.
the dates. I don't actually wear glasses. These were a dollar
Wow.
35 at Dollarama, but they work.
Oh, wow. I used to wear readers, but now I wear glasses because, well, I don't need them for everyday life, but I wear them because I feel my eyes aren't as big as they used to be. And I think that does happen as you get older. So I wear them to make my eyes bigger too in public.
And you said you're 60 now?
Yes.
Well, you look amazing, and I hope I look half as good when I get there. I'm not that far
Really
from
great.
there.
You look amazing and you will because you've got great features, great bones.
I should talk to you. Why don't we talk every week? Maybe I'll get you on just to
I
pump my
actually like
tires.
talking to you, and I like dredging this stuff up because it's stuff that again, Americanly I've forgotten.
I love it. Hey, so when I went on, where did I go? I went to Blue Sky and I went into there's a group in WhatsApp for FOTMs. That means Friends of Toronto Mike. You're now an FOTM, Sophie
Okay.
B. So I just said, hey, Sophie B. Hawkins is on the show, and then Leslie chimed in to say, I am watching Your Friends and Neighbors with John Hamm,
Oh, wow.
and in episode 6, she says she was enjoying a Sophie B. Hawkins jam.
Yes, they were listening. I haven't seen it, but I was so flattered.
So I gotta say, I gotta catch up. I think it's an Apple show. I gotta catch up. I do like Mad Men though. So if John Hamm said
Oh
it,
God, that is one of my favorite things ever.
I know
Oh,
it's so
yeah.
good. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. John Hamm's so great in it too. But he's a fellow handsome man, so we're in the same club.
Really. Yes, you are in the John Hamm level.
Oh, stop it! That's impossible. That's impossible.
Wait, do I follow you? Do I have to tell my social media person, Wally, what is it that I follow?
Well, can you tell me where you're following? Like Toronto Mic'd is a podcast everywhere you get your podcasts, but are you talking about like, for example, I'll tag you, but on Instagram, I'm
Yes,
Toronto.Mike, and then
yes. Great. Okay.
you'll find me. I'm all over the place.
Yes.
But which song is it that made it to episode
And
6?
of course, Damn. Damn is having sort of a renaissance right now.
Well,
Damn.
okay, so let's do this. I wanted to talk about your Toronto history, but first, and don't be offended. You've written many great songs, but there are 2 songs that I think are banging around everybody's head right now when I say the name Sophie B. Hawkins. Like one of them is "Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover," but I don't want to like discount because I was playing it last night and it's huge. "As I Lay Me Down," like that's a
That's kind of
huge jam.
that's the longest running hit single in the history of music, apparently.
67 weeks on the Billboard Adult Contemporary Singles
Yeah.
chart.
Yes. Well, you got it.
6 weeks at the number 1 spot in this particular Billboard chart. Yeah,
So
big deal.
that's a lot. And I thank also the songs for really really support me because even though there's not radio anymore, they make people find me in other ways, like being on the John Hamm which we both haven't seen, but that does, I can't people when people say they don't play their like to play their hits on tour, I'm like, are you kidding me? That's how people know you. That's what brought them in, you
I
know?
hate bands that like if you like if I went to see Sophie B. Hawkins in North Battleford, Saskatchewan, and she didn't sing "Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover," I would throw my can
Yes.
of beer at you.
And I agree with you. And by the way, it's a great song to sing. It is as challenging as any Janis Joplin song because of the range and the emotions. And I will tell you, this is honest. Every single song I've ever written that I sing on stage, I always discover it fresh in front of the audience. I really sing as I think more of a like an act. I don't know if this is actually, but I don't sing by rote. I sing and I find new things because this is a sounding egotistical, but it's true. The lyrics are so good. The lyrics are so real. I always find new meaning in my songs. And even as I grow, especially as I grow older, go, wow, that's really profound.
You wrote that song. I want to make sure the listeners know you're not just some hired gun up there with a great voice. You wrote that song.
I write the lyrics and the music. I write everything in my rooms, wherever my room is, and that's how I remember where I was. When I people say, "Where were you in blah blah blah?" I think, "What songs?" I wrote that song when I was living on 83rd Street. I write everything. I record it in my bedroom. I always have a studio in my bedroom. I always have. And that's how I go. And sometimes people like my demos better. And I'm yet to release an album of the original demos of everything, but that will be a lot of fans' favorites because they are better than the studio recordings in many ways.
And am I right that a song like that, we just talked about the John Hamm series, which people are digging right now on Apple, but like it'll show up in a whole bunch of things, right? Like Euphoria or Stranger Things or Ozark. Or,
Yes. Yes, yes,
those are huge shows.
they are, and that's again, thank the Lord, that's how I'm putting food on the table.
Okay, no, good for you. And let's lest
Yeah.
we forget some legacy shows I used to watch back in the day, like Beverly Hills 90210 and
Yes,
Dawson's Creek.
yes,
Okay, don't forget, Pacey and Dawson's Creek is Canadian.
yes, yes.
I'm here to
That's
tell you all the Canadians.
Canadians are great. Oh my God.
Okay, shout out to Joshua Jackson, I believe is the gentleman's name here. Okay, he's also in The Affair, which I enjoyed. At least I enjoyed the first few seasons, and that had McNulty in it from The Wire. So here's our TV talk here. Okay, so any more insights? So just give me a vibe on, did you know "Damn, I Wish Your Lover" would be a hit? Like, did you
Yeah.
know we'd be singing it in 2025?
Didn't know I'd even be here in 2025 because I was so young then. But I remember when I'm holding the computer with one hand because I'm excited, but when my hands went on the chords of the verse and my finger slipped, I've told this story before, but it's true. I was so tired and I had this thing floating around in my head, the feelings, the emotions, and my left hand slipped and went from an A to a G. So it went, dun dun, but my hand didn't go A to D, it went A to G, and that was the magic. It was like this huge open sound, like a jazz sound. And I went, oh my God, I love this is it. And then I had to follow it up with finishing it. I knew it was big from that chord change, believe it or not, but it could be there are points in our life where we know we've hit on something, but then it's even more scary because you want to get there for your whole life. You want to get to that point. Then you get there, you realize now I really have to fulfill this. I have to finish it. I have to deliver. And luckily it was within me to do that. And I just knew. And when I first played it for people, I was so excited to get their reaction. I didn't show that, but they didn't like it. And I thought they're dumb as
You
Fuck.
can swear on this show.
Oh, I can't. I thought they're dumb as fuck. How could they not hear this? And I did know it was a monster like in form. It had three verses and a 16 bar bridge. And every chorus, this is something that's cool. Every chorus has a different melody from each other. The chorus is never the same in the because the lower octave is the real melody and the lower octave changes every chorus. So I did understand that their ears were a little bit challenged to realize this is a huge hit. But I got it and they didn't. And then it took one guy. I was co-checking and he picked up my cassette. It's a long story. I'll tell it in my memoir, but he heard it on his Walkman going home on the subway. And he was an actual jingle producer. And he called me up because my cassette said, Sophie, 212-787-8418. That was my number. And he called me and he said, you should be making records. So that one guy, Ralph, who's dead now, unfortunately,
What was Ralph's last name? Do you remember?
Ralph Shuckett, and he's a co-producer on the album.
And this is Tongues and Tails. So was this a
Yeah.
demo he was listening to?
He listened to my home demo, the cassette
Oh,
from
that's
my real.
amazing.
Yes, yes. And it had everything. It had Mysteries We Understand and California Here We Come. And Before I Walk on Fire, it had the whole first album on it and then many more.
God. And then you were nominated for Best New Artist at the Grammys.
Yes.
Who
And
beat
then,
you?
what'd you say?
Who beat you?
Oh, I forgot. They're not around anymore. They were gone after a year.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to Google that one, find out who beat you out. But this was this song. I mean, global success here in Canada, as you mentioned. We were loving it. So, like, before I get to Whaler, can I ask you just hear about your his? You mentioned you're not going to be in Toronto during this upcoming Canadian tour.
Unfortunately.
No, even Toronto's the center of the universe. You got to get back here.
And I tried, there's 3 days off, and I tried to, with Chantal, get a gig that we could double bill on those days off, but apparently they couldn't pull it together or whatever.
I'll see what I can do. Okay, I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.
I know people. Okay. But so my understanding is, and you are Sophie B. Hawkins, so you can fact check me like you're Robert Lawson in the bushes. That's an inside reference for the listeners. But am I right that your first time playing Toronto was the Phoenix?
Probably, but I wouldn't remember that name, but it sounds right.
Yeah, the Phoenix, which is 410 Sherbourne Street. Spent many a night at the Phoenix. And this
That
might, yeah.
address I remember because I would have seen the address more because I would have had to get there from my hotel.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit east of it's a bit east of Yonge Street, but downtown. Yeah, it's a interesting neighborhood. We'll leave it at that. But love biking Sherbourne. But the Phoenix, I think your opening act, here's a name from the past. Maybe even Cam Gordon won't remember. We'll see. Acosta Russell. This was like the opening act, apparently. But I think this is during the heyday of Damn, I Was Your Lover, right?
Costa Russell. What's a Costa Russell
Uh,
doing?
you know what? I have no idea. Like this is a deep cut because I haven't heard that name in a very long time.
Okay.
I'll have to find out what's going on there. But so you do the Phoenix show during the heyday of Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover. But then you're back. I think it might have been like an industry insider show at the top of the Senator in January 1995.
Yes, yes, I remember that. I don't know why it was an industry show. That was Sony doing their thing.
Well, Sony's going to Sony. You know that. Okay. But then I think you were interviewed by Jana Lynn White of the New Music at the world's biggest bookstore. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home, world's biggest bookstore, no longer there, but this was a big deal for us in the 90s. But the big thing I think you were chatting about there was a interview magazine where you posed nude hovering over a bathtub. Am I right, Sophie?
Yeah, that was another. You're picking up all my worst moments, but yeah, that was another worst moment
Why is that a worst moment?
because it was a betrayal. It was a betrayal, and this will be in the memoir. I'm thinking out loud, it should be in the memoir. My very good friend, and she's not here anymore, so I don't want to disparage her, but Ingrid Sishi had promised to me that the really great photographer, Bruce Weber, that if I took off my clothes and let him do what he wanted with shadows and light, that he would get the right angles and that he would not, that nothing would ever be published that would be shameful, that would make me feel ashamed, that would be my naked body. And when she said, we have done the spread, and I said, I want to see it because you promised me, my very good friend, you promised me that I would be able to see it. And if I don't like it, because she thought, this was going to be a moment. She said, you're like Marilyn Monroe. You're so vulnerable and sexy and intelligent and funny. And I will present you to the world like no one's ever seen you. And she did the whole spiel. And I thought she loved me deeply and that she would do me right. And she said, I'm not going to let it see you, but it's going to change your life. And you're going to be so happy and you're going to love the pictures. They're so beautiful and they don't expose you at all. There's nothing showing the when I went to the newsstand, because I didn't get a free copy, and I opened it up, I literally almost had a panic attack, nervous break, whatever you would have. And I couldn't speak and I couldn't take calls for months. I was destroyed. I could cry right now. I was so humiliated.
You were violated.
It was horrible by a woman who was everything I believed in, you know?
No, I'm
It was
sorry this
terrible, and
happened to you.
I'm sorry it happened, and I don't mean to hurt her because she's not here, but it happened to me, and I'll write about it more in depth.
Is it possible that it got beyond her control and that this
No,
happened by the
the
publishers?
editor. editor of the magazine, which is why I trusted her. I'm not that stupid. She's the editor.
Right. She
And
has
she,
final editor
yes.
approval. Oh, I'm so sorry, Sophie. I'm so sorry because it's you need to consent to these things.
But now the problem is we've talked about it and people will look it up.
I'm gonna order. Listen, they listen to me. My listeners are very obedient. I'm gonna let them know. Do not look it up, okay? But I'm sorry that I didn't know that angle
I
on the story.
I mean, he's a brilliant photographer, but they're not flattering, and he is like not responsible for that. It's the, it's in every way it's bad. Like I can't talk about it with being completely politically incorrect, but I have to say my feelings about it,
Yeah.
at least to Canada.
No, yeah. Just can't. Your neighbors to the north, your sovereign neighbors to the north, appear an
I love
independent country.
it. Yes, I'll say to the sovereign, to the sovereigns.
I will
That's what.
say so. I haven't talked to many Americans lately, but I find when I do have the chance to speak to an American, I need to slip that S word in a couple of times. Like I feel like I need to remind America that Canada is a sovereign nation.
Wait, is everyone you talk to? What's happening? You mean they don't?
No, no,
Different
typical
from America.
a typical guest is a Canadian. So, I
Okay,
just
what about Chappelle Roan? F
uh
this city, I'm moving to Saskatchewan. Doesn't she represent us?
no, that's I like that line very much. I wish he'd move here to Toronto, but
Then
Saskatchewan
we
will do
lose her.
nicely.
She has to stay here because I really love her, actually.
Oh,
I might add that song to my set for Canada.
oh, do it. Yeah, well,
Yes,
especially
yes.
when you play like North Battleford, you have to play that cover.
I think we have to.
I think they love it. Like I think they're madly in love with that
So,
song in Saskatchewan because
not-
people never talk about Saskatchewan except
That's
for like Joni Mitchell or something. Like you don't get a lot of Saskatchewan talk.
that's the thing about Chappelle Roan is that she's so brilliant, and she would do that rhyme, and I just know, I'm believing that when she wrote that, when it came out, she just smiled inside so big because it's pretty brilliant and the rhyme is pretty brilliant.
Let's take you to a happier memory than that awful betrayal with the photo shoot. Can I take you back to October 16, 1992? You were at Madison Square Gardens in New
Oh,
York City. You were part of the 30th anniversary concert celebration for Bob Dylan.
yes.
It's amazing you're part. That was quite the bill.
Yes, and I was singing I Want You, and then at the end I had my arm around um Sinead O'Connor, and as she was being booed, and I was really in one of the greatest places in the world in that moment in time. Probably the greatest place historically. We were all singing and it was amazing.
Yeah, I think it's sort of yeah. You're right. That concert's now kind of infamous for the booing of Sinead O'Connor, who had ripped up a picture of the Pope on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Yes, but we all artists, we all supported her and sort of made a big line of support, and but also that concert changed my life for other reasons that again I have to put in the book. But there was somebody really, really important there who I didn't meet till 20 years later. But when he met me and he said, "You changed my life." I said, "What?" He said that your version of I Want You, I was sitting way back in the nosebleed seats, and this was a person I'd been dying to meet forever, and he's really important to me. And it, you just never know in life.
Who's this person?
I can't tell you now.
Can you give me
It
a
was
clue?
what?
Can I get a clue? Like, is this
I
a person I'll know the name right away when you say
Well,
it?
you might not because it's a New Yorker, a very important New Yorker prison, and what I'm doing now with my musical, Birds of New York. But it was the beginning of something really, really important to me in my life now, like creatively. It's a creative connection that really has given me a lot of support and help and soulful uh, regeneration.
An iconic photo from this moment we're talking about at Madison Square Garden is the late Chris Christopherson hugging the late Sinead O'Connor.
Yes, there you go.
There you go. Okay, now I need to ask you about As I Lay Me Down because
Yeah.
as big as a damn I wish I was your lover. By the way, when people meet, I have a question. When you meet someone for the first time, you're very friendly and you go, "Hi, I'm Sophie B. Hawkins" or whatever. Do people say, "Damn, I wish I was your lover"?
They used to. Very few people say it, and when they do, I like it because it sounds good.
Well, you know what? I almost opened the show with that, and then I thought, come on, Mike, show some restraint. You don't know this woman. You can't just.
That's cute.
But
But
As I Lay Me Down, so as big as that song was,
Yes.
When it comes to like, adult contemporary radio, over like a Hot 100, if you will, As I Lay Me Down, that's a more conventional radio hit for you. But we talked earlier about how big it was. Where did that song come from?
Well, I was waitressing at the time and I was songwriting a lot. I transitioned from being a drummer solely to then knowing that's again another story in the book, how I did that transition from being a drummer and wanting to be the greatest drummer in the world to realizing I had to be a songwriter. That was really what I was supposed to do. So I'd been songwriting for a while and I was waitressing at this macrobiotic restaurant on 6th Avenue called Suen. And I was living on Prince Street in 6th, and I came home and I was playing my acoustic guitar very quietly because I had a roommate and the song started to come out. And again, when I got to that chorus, I said, "Oh my God, this is so big for me. This is really, this is beautiful. This is big." And it was big for me emotionally too. The lyrics about, I'll run to meet you barefoot, barely breathing. I'll hear the whistle of a train on a summer evening. I'll run to meet you barefoot, barely breathing. I was reconnecting with such deep emotions from my childhood about my father. And I was just, whatever it did to people when they heard it, when they loved it, it did that to me when it was coming out. It was a big emotional catharsis.
I'm always like, it blows me away when I hear an artist like yourself talk about this, the creation of something that's become so timeless and iconic. It's almost like inspiration just sort of taps you on the shoulder, whispers in your ear, and then you're off to the races.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I think that because I'm always working at it and not to diminish from that, because I sit down every morning at 6 and write, it's the channels are open. And when people say, "Oh, you're endless writing," people who know me, "Oh, she's doing her endless writing," but they don't realize that without that, how am I going to keep a record and the channels open? I was working before we were talking, and I have my journal, and it has, the moments of ideas. Oh, this for the book, and oh, this is for the musical. But I always start off with, "Good morning, August 29th, 2025," and I literally start with what's happening. And if I didn't do that, that's opening the channels. And I really encourage people who are artists, even if you're painting, everything starts with me in a journal. And all the lyrics of song I wrote, if I say something to somebody that's quippy and good, I go, I write that down. That's a good song. That's a good, and even though it might just end up in a lyric in 5 years, it's there. You will be surprised. I went back and found, because I was going through the journals for research for the book, and I found the first lyrics of "Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover." Before "Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover," those verse lyrics were coming out in dribs and drabs for
Right.
a full month before the song hit. So I said, God, Sophie, don't ever stop writing in your journal.
No,
Do
never stop writing in that journal. There's a band I love, a Canadian band. They're called the Tragically Hip. I don't know if you've heard of the
I
Tragically
think
Hip.
I've heard that name. That's fabulous.
Oh, but so I would. I'm just going to show you Road Apples because I have the vinyl hanging around here. But Tragically Hip, Gord Downey, the late great iconic singer, he would write the lyrics, but he would do these like improvisational like rambles in the middle of songs, and I would see them live all the time. And he would kind of tell this story or break into this improv tag thing he's doing in the middle of like New Orleans is sinking or something like that. And then years later, that melody or that lyric would show up in a new hip song. Like you were kind of like watching him work things out like that. So
I think you just described exactly the process. And when I was beginning songwriting, I used to jam with this guitar player, and I hope he's alive, David Moreno. And if he's probably living in Canada because he was really brilliant. Um, he was a classical guitar player, and we would do these jams for hours all night. And he would play guitar, and I'd be singing, I have the cassettes. We would just be doing that, and I think that all again uh, honed my mind. And I do a lot of that on stage too. I'm very there in the moment and improvising. And yes, I agree.
nice, amazing. Okay, so the first album, Tongues and Tails, gives us "Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover," and then the second album, Whaler, gives us "As I Lay Me Down." But I just wondered what you would say about what happened with Sony and that third album.
Well, I only know my point of view. My point of view is that, so Whaler, by the way, almost never came out because Sony America, this is my point of view, what I heard from Sony people who were very good to me in Europe. I before the second album was recorded, Sony US said, move to Europe. Nobody in America gets you. Couldn't have been further from the truth, but that's what they said. So I did. I was like, I get to move to Europe. So I moved to London and I started recording Whaler. And Sony America didn't hear a hit. And Sony Europe heard a lot of hits. They heard Don't Tell Me No and Right Beside You was the first one. And they heard As I Lay Me Down. And they heard another one I can't remember right at the moment. But they loved Did We Not Choose Each Other? They loved so many songs on it. And so I had a stream of hits in Europe for like 2 years. And then they sort of nudged Sony America and said, wake up. This is a great album. So then Sony brought me back for As I Lay Me Down, which they realized was a hit, but I guess it's timing. And so then As I Lay Me Down had that whole other life now in America. By the time we got to the third album, it was sort of the same story. They didn't hear a hit on the third album, and I was aghast because I thought, wow, No Connection, I Walk Alone. How do you not hear these songs? But they didn't want to support it. So I don't know exactly what happened, but they essentially put me aside again. And then this Napster thing happened where Napster opened the channels of the digital world and went into the what Sony called the back door of digital, and the album got out to my fans. Lose Your Way. That's what happened. Now I'm remembering it. So there was that movie that my partner made sort of on me. Again, not many moments I love, but some moments I love. Shouldn't have done it probably. But anyways, Lose Your Way was in the movie and I was promoting it. But this is how I met my fantastic Canadian support system, Janice Hagman and her partner Jen, was because of that movie. Cream Will Rise was in a film festival. Janice Hagman, who lives in Canada, was working at the film festival, and I've never lost connection with her, by the way. She still works with me. And she was there for this, and she could speak much more accurately on this. Lose Your Way was on a radio, I think it could have been Canadian, but on a radio station, maybe Florida, played Lose Your Way because I asked them. They said, what do you want to play from the new album? And I said, Lose Your Way. But I wasn't there with Sony. I was there promoting the movie for the film festival. So I was being a renegade. And then the fans heard Lose Your Way and basically somehow combined with Napster doing what Napster was doing, they broke through the back door digitally, downloaded the album, and were so happy that the album that Sony wouldn't release was now theirs. Sony got furious with me and thought I did it on purpose. And I said, no, I just played the song that I thought was the best from the album. And you should get behind this. And I said, Sony, use this. This is the internet. Use it. They want the album, give it to them now. We've got a fan base who's got it and willing to promote it. Wouldn't that have been smart? To basically, in other words, if Sony wasn't wanting to put money in it, this was free promotion. These were avid fans who had downloaded it and loved it. But they couldn't see the forest for the trees, and they got mad at me and they were fighting with me. And basically, I got my master's back and had to release it on my own. They didn't technically drop me, but it was horrible. But they should have used the moment. And that's what I want to say, Mike. It was a moment where I was a bit ahead of my time.
And Trumpet Swan Productions was born.
Yeah, and take the Trump out of the trumpet, please.
Oh, you know what? I love. There's a game euchre. Do they play euchre in the States? I think they do, but it's big in
Maybe
Ontario. They play euchre. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. So euchre is a card game, but a certain card will be trump, right? So forever, I grew up with this show playing with my grandmothers on both sides. Like euchre's everywhere in this province, and I grew up playing it all the time. In high school, you'd play it at lunch all the time. But a card has to be trump, and whatever. I guess 2016, that word yeah, we need a new word anyway. So whenever the word Trump appears in the wild, it's got a whole different connotation now.
A lot of my friends won't allow that word to be said in their homes in any way, shape, or form.
Then they're not playing euchre, that's for sure.
Right, exactly. And but was I clear about the story? The story was there was a moment in '98 or where where the fans did exactly what we would want them to do and what you pay people to do now, digital marketing.
Right.
Sony couldn't see the forest for the trees, and I'll say that blatantly. And I did see it. I said, wow, this is, and there was a woman doing it already. What's her name? You know her name. Starts with an A. The first woman to have success selling records out of her van. This is because I'm 60.
Oh my God. I wish I could help you with this,
What
but
do I
I'm
mean, don't you? She's huge. She's the first independent artist to really make it.
well, sing a little of something and I'll tell you her name.
It's gonna come to me in a second. Hold on, it's right there. It starts with an A.
Huh.
Okay, it'll come back.
It's okay. Everybody's yelling at us, but I don't
What
know.
are they
It sounded
yelling?
like you were describing Jewel or something, but
No, no,
that's
Jules, way before Jewel.
way before Jewel. Okay, so
1996, 97, 98.
well, it's not Alanis Morissette because
Nope,
she's
nope,
not
nope,
selling
nope.
it. I'm thinking of
Before
A
Alanis.
before Alanis. Okay, so we're talking early to mid '90s here. An A
Early.
name. Geez, I'm letting you down here, but if it comes to you, spit it out when it comes to
Most
you.
people listening know who it is. She sold records out of her van. She became like a million, sort of million records. She was the first female to independently really succeed. And
Fiona
she,
Apple. No.
no, she wasn't. None of these we're talking about everyone. Just so you know the difference between independent and heavily supported by a label. Everyone's mentioned is heavily supported by a label. This woman had no support.
Yeah.
It starts with an A.
Adele.
No, she's so supported by the
I know,
industry.
but Sophie, I'm just screaming A names at you now because we know it's a female and we know it's got an A
I
name.
have
But
to, if I had my phone, I'd be texting Wally. Where's my?
do you
Okay,
know a
yes,
song by this person?
yes. Hold on, let me think.
Okay, we're gonna get this and then we'll move
I'm
on. This is
texting Wally right while we're on the phone.
okay. Uh, okay, I'm gonna do a little googling to see it. I know this is compelling audio, but I refuse to edit this out because I'm enjoying it too much here.
Really important
Um,
is the artist.
her name is. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, geez, I'm not coming up with a name. I don't know. So this is an American, obviously.
Yes,
Selling an independent American, but selling big number of units of an album independently.
indie successful artist.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, if we ever get this, it'll be time to
See,
celebrate.
I actually there's so many things I remember with my two kids, and like I said, I have no babysitters, no help. I even do my own P&Ls, by the way, and pay all my bills. But I want to say, and I love cleaning the house. I am training my children very well to clean the house.
Good.
But I want to say that I asked Wally, this is the one thing about turning 60. It's this instant recall. So like I'm great with everything but this.
Well, I've noticed it. I'm 51, and I've noticed myself that sometimes it takes me a moment. I can see their face and I can hear their song, and I'm like, what is that person's name? So I think this is just natural as your brain ages.
And
Nothing to
me,
worry about. But if it comes to you later, spit it out. So
okay.
so may I? So I
Oh, I
can.
won't say, Wally will tell me if he's there.
All right. Well, hopefully he should be on call for these questions here. So, because I do want to ask you now that we've got Trumpet Swan Productions and you're no longer with Sony. But I do know, talking to many people at Sony at this point, late '90s or whatever, when Napster arrives, it did catch the old guard off guard, in that they didn't really know how to monetize all this because they were so dependent on selling tangible units of something like a CD or a cassette. Now it's a CD, I guess, at this point, that they really didn't know what to do with this whole. The internet. It's almost like the internet caught them blindsided, or they weren't ready for this revolution that we now sort of had to adapt to. So I can see Sony not knowing what to do with it all.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
I can't. I think that's stupid as hell.
I know.
Their Sony is Japanese tech. They should have known exactly what was coming. I think that there's the dumbest people in the world, and that's Trump dumb. That's Trump dumb.
That's when you can use the T word. Okay,
Yes.
I do. So I want to ask you with just a few. I know. I hope I'm not being too annoying here, but I always need a good hour to kind of get to know you and find out what's going on. But are you willing to chat a little bit about the Howard Stern interview you did in the mid '90s?
Oh, that was a good moment where I made him take off his pants.
So we'll tell the listeners who haven't, because we did have Howard Stern up here on Q107, I think at the time, or maybe it came later. But in '95, maybe not. I don't know. The time's it's a social construct. I'm having trouble with it right now. But is this the chat where you identified as omnisexual, and then there was, I guess, you were being linked to every gay woman known at the time, from Martina Navratilova to Jodie Foster, and you had to kind of come
You
clean
know
that you.
how complimentary is that? I never met Jodie Foster,
No.
but and Martina, I did have a couple dinners with. I adore her, but I was never lovers with any of them.
What about Rosie O'Donnell?
Rosie O'Donnell and I had a really good run. I can't believe I just said that. I hope she's okay with that.
Well, she's in Ireland now.
Yeah, I know.
I know you know, but it
I mean,
just
we're still in touch. She's wonderful. Rosie is wonderful, and we had a. I'm yes, she and I had a great affair, and I don't know what else to say about it. She's very funny. She's as funny. Well, she's funnier. She's can't say a bad word.
you can say a bad word. You can say it.
Well, I mean, I it was short, but that was great. Short and sweet and funny.
Like a comet. It burns very brightly for a short period of time.
Correct. Correct.
You can use that lyric in the next one,
Thank
next
you.
song. Can you tell me, because I had this chat with my wife last night, what exactly is
Ani
omnisexual?
DeFranco. I remembered it. Wally didn't tell me. Ani DeFranco.
Yes, of course. Okay,
Okay, so everybody should know out there that it will come to me.
that's why I talk so long, because eventually you'll come up with the name.
Yes, look, Wally hasn't even got it. He said Jewel first, and he's still asking me questions, but I'm going to stop
I know.
texting
I
him.
will see. So at least we both picked Jewel. You know why? Because there was a story about her living in her car in
I
Alaska.
I know, but that's so different.
I know.
Woman, I'm not putting her down. I love Jewel. Ani,
Sure.
I'm telling him right now, Ani DeFranco.
Amazing. I'm so
Oh my
glad we
God, he
got that.
said the same thing. That's the famous story. She was living in her car in San
Yeah.
Diego. We all know. But I just told him. I just told him anyway.
It's
I
like
got it.
jukebox here. Okay, so please define for us all what omnisexual means.
It's great. Omnisexual means
Mhm.
that your gender doesn't define my sexuality. And I discovered this very young when I was with my first lover, long relationship with my drum teacher, who was much older than me. It's one for the books. But my African drum teacher, I said to him when I was 19 years old, 18 maybe, God, no, I was in high school. Forget how young I was. That's a little scandalous. I said, just because you're a man doesn't make me straight. And he was like, what? And he didn't matter. He was getting everything he needed. And but it dawned on me, just because you're a man doesn't make me straight. Because the last Metro had been playing, and this is how long ago it was. The last Metro was in the movie theaters, and I thought Catherine Deneuve and her husband in the movie, I think not Francois. I think Francois Truffaut directed it, but anyway, the guy playing her husband, very famous actor. I thought they were both so incredibly gorgeous, and I loved both of them. And I realized, as a young person, I get to have both of them. Nobody can tell me I can't be with Catherine Deneuve and her husband. I wouldn't do it at the same time. I'm not really into that. I'm a one-on-one. I'm a Scorpio, but that's what happened to me. And then I said to my partner at the time, just so you know, you don't make me straight. Because I realized, but I didn't say I was gay because I'd never been gay. It was a long time before I would ever be a woman. And by the way, now I'm dating, I don't want to say who I'm dating, but nobody's gender makes me gay or straight. This is it. It's creativity. I want to be who I am creatively. I don't want to be defined by the other person. And I love all genders and I love trans. And I was a very early supporter of trans. By the way, in 1992, when I was promoting Damn, I Wish I Was Your Lover, I was on pop radio getting a lot of flack for supporting a book called Gender Outlaw, which was in support of trans. I was really ahead of my time on that one too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And hearing you describe omnisexual, it sounds to me like fluid, right? This is
It is.
essentially, yeah.
Yes, it is. And I could have said I'm fluid and whatever, but I picked Omni because I was sitting with John Perellis of the New York Times. It was before my first record came out. It was the first big interview I did. It may have even been the first interview I did. And I'm there at a coffee shop and he said, "Are you a lesbian?" And I thought, how do I answer this? Because I wanted to include my true history, but I wanted to leave my future open, you know? So I said the word omni because I'm very into the Greek, like Greek mythology and Edith Hamilton, who wrote The Greek Way. I'm very into the Greek mentality, psychology. So I said, how, and omni is a Greek word. And I thought all equals one. I'm Sophie B. Hawkins. I'm omnisexual. It made sense to me at the time.
Well, I will give you some props here because we didn't really have the language yet. So you're in the mid 90s. You're really on the bleeding edge and avant garde here. So,
Bachelor song, The Bleeding Edge.
yeah.
You're smiling. Okay. You're so fun.
Where was I? You're so, by the way, I don't know if we can, I'm going to just say this now on the recording so you have it, but if you write Mike at torontomike.com, so
Yeah.
Mike at torontomike.com, we'll have a one-on-one relationship because I feel like I'll need to talk to you again about whatever's going on in the world.
Okay, that's great. I'm
Just to
writing
cut
this
out the middleman, so to speak. Okay. Well, anyways, now you have it, Mike at
down.
torontomike.com. So, reminder to the listeners, because I have one last thing I want to ask you about before we say goodbye. But reminder that Sophie B. Hawkins is coming to Canada,
Hey,
hardcore logo style, Western Canadian tour.
movie.
October 16th, North Battleford. There's a bunch of Alberta dates. There's British Columbia. There's stops in Fort Saskatchewan, Prince Albert, Red Deer. It's not for the faint of heart, but Sophie B. Hawkins is putting in the work. And you can go to sophiebhawkins.com for tickets and specific. We can't wait to have you back on in our sovereign nation. Would you mind? I'm a big fan of Community. I know I'm blabbing a lot here at the end here, but I think
It's
I
one of the greatest like art like things I did. That was it was great. It was, the cast was so funny on and off. We shot so many scenes, of course, that never made it, but the cast was so great with me. They were so funny.
well,
I
there
made
you
me
go.
want to be on TV, by the way. It made me wish that I was doing that job.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at you right now. You belong on TV as far as I'm concerned.
It was sweet.
Or you know what is TV anymore? You belong, in a video
Right.
format, digital streaming. But I got to say, you never know what to expect when you're going to meet somebody remotely for the first time. And I knew within 30 seconds, I like this person.
That's how I felt about you, Toronto Mike.
Well, that's why you're going to connect with me directly. Cut out
It
the
was-
middleman. We're going to be best friends forever.
That's so nice. BFF.
But thanks for doing this. I really,
Thank you
really
so
appreciated
much. I apologize for the plane.
it. We can't hardly hear it, but love the chat.
It's a helicopter. It's probably Trump's helicopter, and they're coming to arrest me for not letting my friend vote for him. He found out.
Oh, no joke. I'd be
I
careful.
know. I know. I'm really
Let me do this at the end. You were making that story up for comedic purposes.
Yes, to highlight, to make sure people know where I stand.
Thank you, Sophie B. Hawkins.
Thank you so much, Mike. This has been wonderful. Really fun.